Are you interested in innovative education and diversity in school models? Do you see a need for something different to bring about a reformation in our current education system? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join us for this special summer series where we will introduce you to the HERO Project. HERO stands for Heartland Education Reformation Organization and is focused on providing support for unique faith-based schools. These creative Christian learning environments, such as homeschool co-ops, microschools, and hybrid schools, are popping up all across Kansas and throughout the Heartland. The HERO Project offers continued support for this movement. I am your host, Dalena Wallace, founder of the WISE Network and president of AIM Educational Collaborative. Welcome to our summer series of WISE and Otherwise, where we will be highlighting the unique role of the church in supporting a reformation in education through the HERO Project. Okay, well today we have with us the staff and the founders of Courage Academy. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. I know I've met you, Ashley and Alisha, before several times, and Laryssa, you're with them, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourselves.
I'm Ashley Deaver. I'm one of the directors of Courage Academy. And
I'm Alisha Chavana. I teach the younger elementary.
And I'm Laryssa Deaver, and I teach kindergarten and first grade.
And I left out that I'm in charge of secondary.
Okay. I love this. So, Ashley, tell me again, who would be the brainchild of this school? Was it something that you and Abe thought up? Did you and Alisha? I know you guys have been friends forever. How did it come about that you guys decided to, before I start telling, and we can talk more about what your school looks like, but you did launch a micro school last year in 2023. Tell us who thought of this.
Really, if I had to answer that in one answer, it would be God, because He was working in all of our hearts years probably prior to when we started the micro school. He was working with Laryssa in her heart. She had a longing for opening up a pre-K program for her, but we stuck her with kindergarten and she's doing great. That was something that God had put on her heart. Abe and I, we've been wanting to do something different for a long time. The Lord was at work on our hearts in that. And then Alisha, you want to tell?
I was just needing something different and new also.
So separately, God had been working on us and creating a plan for us all.
I love that. And I love how He's brought all of you guys together to work together. And it sounds like you each have your own area of specialty and expertise. So go ahead and tell our audience. So I mentioned that you have Courage Academy. You're located out in Augusta, Kansas. Tell us what your program looks like. And then later we'll talk about a little bit about your location. I think it's really interesting and unique. And I love to see this type of partnership. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But go ahead and tell me, what does your program look like at Courage Academy?
The students in our program are actually under the homeschool umbrella, but they come to us from 8:30 until 12:30, Monday through Thursday, and we cover the core curriculum, including math, history, science, and English, and we're actually K through 12. We have Laryssa has got all of the little kindergartners, and she's so good at what she does. And then Alisha is in charge of the elementary kids, and she's also wonderful. And then I've got those secondary kids. Our oldest right now is actually 11th grader, but she's coming back next year and she'll be a senior with us.
Wow. A full K through 12 program. And so you're Monday through Thursday, you mentioned, and a few hours in the morning, but you're able to cover all the core curriculum during that time. And you also mentioned your husband, Abe, or I don't know if we mentioned him yet, but I know I've met him. And when I first met you guys together as a couple, you had been working as teachers. In fact, Alisha, Ashley, and Abe, I don't know about you, Laryssa, were you also working in the Augusta School District?
I worked in Colorado at a preschool.
Okay. Okay. So were you telling me, Ashley, that Abe comes in and does some of the teaching for you as well?
He does. So he kind of handles math and history for secondary, and then I do the rest. And it's awesome because he's got that background. He was a special educator
Yes.
for like 17 years doing math and history. So
Wonderful. And you guys all collectively decided to resign from your current or your previous school position as teachers there in the public school district. How did that come about, and how was that received? And what were your thoughts initially when you decided we're not going to be teaching? Did you know immediately it's because we're going to launch our own school?
well, I decided to jump first because Alisha told me I had to. And so I jumped first and I did really hard things that I didn't realize that I could do. But because of the Lord, he enabled me to do things like creating a website. I was an English teacher and I taught culinary as well. Like I had never created a website. So things like that. And so I jumped first. And then
She only jumped first because I'm a mom, and it was very daunting for me to not have another income and just jump right into something that I had no idea. But after a few months of prayer, the Lord said, "You're jumping." So,
and she did.
Wow. So it sounds like it was really a step of faith for you all, and it was just you were following a calling that you felt like God had placed something on your heart to step out. Was the situation difficult in the school, or was it more that you just wanted to do something that you were unable to do in the current system, and you hoped for a little bit more autonomy and independence and freedom to teach and to have a classroom like you wanted it to look like?
There are some things that we wanted the autonomy for sure. There were some things that we felt like needed to change with the public school system that we felt like we couldn't make that change. It's a governmental issue. And so we just decided if we can't change it, we're going to have to start our own school. We all have children in the public school system. They're still there. They're doing great. They're thriving. It's wonderful for them. But we also recognize that public school isn't going to work for everyone. And we all had multiple students in the system that we knew and were working with and that needed something different. And we recognize that. So that's part of the reason why we opened it up. It's not because we hate public school. We love public school.
Right. So tell me what the families who are coming to you and bringing their kids to you, what is it that they are looking for? You mentioned that you knew you had some students of your own, that the public system and the classroom wasn't really the best fit for them. So what is it that these students were needing, and how have you been able to create that to meet their needs?
Well, I was going to make Alisha answer this, but one of the biggest things is, especially for her, I feel like she's able to put kids, if there's a student that's reading on
I can answer this now.
okay.
I feel like in public school, we weren't always able to let them learn at their own speed or their own level. You know, they had to, if they were in third grade, they had to do third grade things at the speed of what the most of the class was doing, unless they were in special education, and then they could move at a different speed. But here, I feel like we're able to put them on their learning level, not necessarily, their age level or grade level.
Yeah, that sounds great. Laryssa, from your experience as a previous preschool teacher, now in kindergarten, how do you feel like, okay, that's Alisha running off to go get her sourdough bread, by the way. Okay, they warned me that this would happen here about 7 minutes in, that she would have her oven going off. So Alisha will be back. Laryssa, though, tell me about how you feel like this is working for kindergartners. Is this an environment that you would say is allowing them to flourish more than other environments that you've been working in?
I mean, a lot of my kids, they're not required to sit down. That's the biggest thing is we're learning those boundaries and rules and routine of, we do need to sit down for some things, but if you learn better standing up or we're going around in circles, I just let them do it. And you know what? Everyone is understanding everything that we're teaching. And I know, like, where I was before, we had to have them sitting down, you know, like there's all these rules. And I just feel like they do really well, being able to have their own independence and freedom while also learning, you know, they need to be able to follow the rules for safety, but I'm going to let you do as much as you need to do to get your learning done. So that's
Sure.
what I would say for that age group.
Okay, how many kids do you have altogether in this school?
Roughly 30.
That's incredible. And now let's talk about the learning environment, like where you're located and how did you first start out? And I know you've made a move mid-year, correct? So tell us a little bit about the two different learning environments and where you're at currently.
We started out in Christchurch in Wichita, which was lovely. They were so gracious to us to let us hold our classes there. But we quickly realized that we needed our own space. It was very, very, very difficult to do some of the things that we were wanting to do in someone else's space. So we called Central Baptist Church in Augusta because they have a sign off of the roads that we drive down every day. And we just gave them a phone call and they have been just wonderful. And we are actually holding classes out of their parsonage and it's ours. We're paying rent each month and we've got it all decked out with our decorations behind us. And it's just almost like a dream. It's in the country, so it's rural Augusta. And the address is Augusta, but it's actually in between Augusta and Andover. By the lake, by Santa Fe Lake. It's beautiful out here. Creates lots of opportunity for nature studies.
Yeah. So I came out, was it last week or the week before, I think, but I came out and visited and saw all the forest around you. And you said Abe's been working on carving out some trails through the forest.
On a truck.
Great. And then the lake is beautiful. The kids have tons of space to run around. I loved it. It was like, it just has, number one, it's in the parsonage. It has this homey feel because it's in a home. And of course, I homeschool my kids. I know a lot of, like you were saying, you have your students, they're registered as homeschoolers. And in the afternoons and on Friday, they're at home or homeschooling or they're doing their other activities out and about. So I love the small, intimate feeling of being in a home environment. And you've done such a great job with setting up little classroom spaces and learning spaces and nooks and crannies here and there. But I am especially interested in this idea of partnership that you have with the church. And if I remember correctly, you guys had just been kind of told about this old church that's out located in the country down a long dirt road. And so you went and you drove and you saw the property, right?
Yeah, several times
We
came
stopped
out
there.
The kids, we kind of just walked around and kind of just checked it out. And then there was a number on the sign, I think, and it did not work. I think it was a landline and nobody answered. So through some Facebook investigation, we did find a number to talk to a lady who was very willing to let us come and speak to their congregation and just kind of pitch our idea to them and see what they thought about it.
I love it. And tell me how you felt like, was this well received in the congregation? And I think you were mentioning, just tell me a little bit about the demographics. This is an older church and they don't have many young children or young families with kids in their congregation, correct?
And so I think from what I can tell with their church, I kind of feel like we're bringing life into, I'm not saying that they're not alive, but we're bringing some of the younger generation into the church and around them. And I think they're so excited about it. At least that's my perception. And then they made us cookies for Valentine's Day. Huge platter of cookies. They're just wonderful, wonderful.
That's so great. And I think, I just see a ton of potential for this type of a partnership moving forward for a lot of different school founders and churches. Whether or not it's a church out in the country that has a parsonage that you can use, all churches have space, that's unused Monday through Friday. Typically, there's not much going on during their space Monday through Friday. And I love how this church has been willing to allow you, and they're sharing their property with you, but it's also been kind of a win-win because you're paying rent, and I'm sure that really helps with some additional income for them. So I am particularly interested in this and would love to see this grow, like be a model for other school founders and churches who might consider partnering with these non-traditional schools. And it even allows them to kind of have a ministry towards their community and towards their congregation. You were mentioning that one of the neighbors there nearby, you have a good relationship with them, and they're very open to the idea of the school. And if I remember correctly, they're going to be sending one of their students to your school next year, right?
Yes. So they actually are a homeschooling family of 7 children. And they have a beautiful home right across the street from us here at Courage. And they are going to for sure be sending at least one. He's a freshman. And then we're also looking into some more possibly. Yeah.
Wow. I love it. So I love that it's been so well received in the congregation, that they're so welcoming. And it sounds like the immediate neighbors around in the community. So just out of curiosity, as far as some of your friends and colleagues from your public school, how have they received this and the fact that you're doing something like this so different? Can they understand and relate, or what's their general idea?
Laryssa, you want to start?
Yeah, I just had an experience. So my son is in kindergarten at the public school, and I had his conferences, and at the beginning of the year, I told her, hey, I'm doing kindergarten. I'm a little nervous. I've only done like older pre-K. And, so she followed up this last conference. She's like, so how's it going? I was like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. I love it. And then she was like, so interested. She was like, what do you guys do? Like, what do you do all day? What are you teaching them? And I told her, well, we just took our lessons outside, and it made such a big difference. And then I saw on her Facebook, like her kindergarten classroom, she took her kids outside. And, like she's just a little more interested. And at first I thought people were asking questions because they were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like they're not sure about it. They don't know what to think. And then now to see it be successful and kids and like coming and loving it, I think it's a little bit like, oh, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think people had to see it to understand. And I mean, I still feel like a lot of our colleagues need to come and see what we're doing in order for them to understand. I was in the public school system for 15 years and it wasn't anything like what we're doing. So I had colleagues who were from here over here where they're like, yes, this is exactly what's needed. This is awesome. The fruit of our labor speak for itself. And I feel like it has helped.
Yeah. I feel like
time. What about you?
Alisha, do you have anything to add?
My family has been supportive. My close teaching colleagues are supportive, but I don't think they still quite grasp exactly what it is that we're doing. I think they still think that this is just some crazy idea that just us are doing. I don't think they realize how many other groups there are out there.
Got a whole network.
I mean, I had a friend text me the other day saying, there's another microschool popping up near you. I'm nervous. Is this going to be competition? And I'm like, none of us are really in competition, which is what I love.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they fully grasp what it is. But I, like Ashley, had a lot of haters also who they're unaware, and instead of asking the questions and asking us, what we're really doing, they're just kind of assuming and then spreading that to other people.
Yeah, well, I think it's such a great perspective to focus on the positives of what you're doing and why you're doing it and how it's serving families, and just it's going to be such a great example, and so they'll just be able to see what happens and see the outcome. And rather than focusing on anything that might be happening in the negatives, or this or that, I think what draws people to do something creative oftentimes is that they just want to use their own creative abilities. They want to have the freedom to make things like unique and catered to the students. So I think that's wonderful. And I love, of course, I love having a network of many microschools, and this movement is continuing to grow. And it's encouraging to hear from founders like yourself that they are not threatened or worried when there's another microschool popping up. I feel like the more the merrier, like, come on, this is a great thing. And the more that we have, the more options that families will have ultimately. So, well, I just appreciate you guys being on the show. I love hearing about what you're doing. Do you have any other final things you'd like to share at the end here?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, well, thank you so much for telling us about Courage Academy and what you're doing in Augusta, Kansas. And I am so happy that you spent the morning with me. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank
See you, Dalena.